Thousands of them immigrated here and now call the island their home, many pursuing educations, entering the workforce, and raising families on Guam. Yet many members of the FSM community feel excluded from the rest of the island's people. Here we meet three different people who all came to pursue an education at the University of Guam. They've each called Guam their home for over a decade now. Meet Leilani Giltanag, who's originally from Yap. She's invested in the island's politics, but will have to watch from the sidelines in the general election. The harsh reality for her is disappointing.
A little sad, I pay taxes. I do everything like other Guamanians, Chamorros, or people that are eligible to vote do, except for vote for our leaders here. And so I encourage all the other ones who are born and raised here in Guam who are eligible to register to vote to go ahead and vote for their leaders because their voice pretty much affects my life here in Guam. So.
The same goes for Sam Alisagam. He too can't vote for the island's next elected officials.
Of course, I'm not a U.S. citizen, so I have no right to vote. But at the same time, there's a need to bring our voices and our issues to our elected leaders. Yes, this is my community. This is our community. So we want to be part of that community building process.
Head of the Chukis Association of Guam, Hendrik Evlucht, moved from Chuk back in the 80s and has seen improvements in involving their community. Like the others, he won't be casting his ballot in the general election, but shares another avenue for members of the FSM community to have their voices heard.
If we get them involved in the decision-making, the lawmaking process on island, the feeling of being alienated will be restored, and they can actively contribute to the community that they have chosen to live. We need the feeling of part of the community. And the feeling of alienation is just something that nobody can comprehend it or absorb it, nor swallow it.
Alisagam also shared the importance of having them involved in policy making.
How do we make our voices be heard in the elected leadership? So if you were to look at I've seen some of the reports that have come out regarding our communities, right? So if we're having an impact on the education system here in Guam, if we're having an impact on the medical system here in Guam, if we're looking at our impact on the housing services here in Guam, if we're saying that we're a big influence or a big part of those systems, then how can we get our voices to be part of decision makings within those systems? Why can't we be part of the Department of Education board? Have you seen any members of our community on the board for housing? Have you seen any of our members of our community being a part of CMH board?
As for needs they see in the community,
the needs are, number one, health and education.
Access to health care, access to affordable housing, having enough food to put on the table for our families. We need good roads. Some of our community members live in areas that would really benefit from good roads. Just like everyone else, we need access to better education.
they're hoping island leaders can address these issues in the community and provide effective solutions.
I heard the other day a mention of our high rate of our population being at the OC. Right? That's not new, right? That's something that has been happening over the years. And how are we addressing it? I'm sure our leaders and our service providers have been working at this for years, but is it making an impact within that population? The same thing that I heard the other day about our Micronesian kids at TOIA. Again, that's not new. It's been going on for a while. But I mean, we've been working at it for years. Right? So what's the solution? It's not. I'm not going to provide you the solution because it needs to be a community solution, right? So again, maybe if we start to kind of look at things from different angles, then we might start to see some positive changes.
What's
Giltanag,
important
too, has a
is
message for current and future island leaders.
I was hoping that the next leaders would consider us members of the community, contributing members of the community. There's a lot of stigma around the FSM community on Guam, and for the past couple of years, I've seen a lot of improvements. I've seen a lot of what do you call it? A lot of engagement in the FSM community with things that are going on. So I want to continue seeing that, but I want to also see the support from the elected leaders.
They've heard the stigmas commonly said about their community.
There's the drunks, alcohol use, drug use, violence, family violence, homelessness. That's kind of one of the issues that really gets to me is like, why would you leave your island and come out here to be homeless? But then at the same time, like, it's kind of impossible or almost impossible for them to get, to get into housing without the support that they need. So, in my career, I've been working to help my brothers and sisters from the FSM try to get on their feet, but it's also like one person can't do it, and I'm only one voice in the community, right? So if we could get that support from our elected leaders, it would really help.
As being part of the community, and I observed that, I heard, and I realize it and understand it myself. Another thing, but let me be honest with this. During the past few years, a couple of years ago, I am one of those that is getting the feeling of being offended by the priority of deportation of the people, FAA citizens. I feel offended. There are some ways that we can handle that. There are therapeutic courts on Guam. There are some rehabilitation programs that we can handle. And maybe it's just there's a need for them to implement it well for those that are in need.
All three are encouraging other island residents to exercise their right to vote and hit the polls come election day and be a voice for those who can't participate.